3, 2, 1. There are 86,400 seconds in a day. Let's not waste another second. Welcome to the No Advice Needed podcast. I'm your host, John Joshua. 2 first names, no middle name. I rarely take the middle ground on anything. That's why I'm good at consulting. Save thousands of dollars and thousands of hours by enemy-proofing your life. Have more time and energy for your real family and your real friends. Eliminate all the questionable, messy, confusing gaslighting people from your social circle. Share better moments with better people. On this episode, we will go over life priorities and love priorities, 5 steps to creating an enemy-proofing group, 6 enemy-proofing positions in the group, 6 traps of title loyalty, 9 methods on how to immediately apply enemy-proofing to your life. This podcast is brought to you by Try Consulting Solutions. We know, we get it, we respect it. When it comes to your life, there's no advice needed. But just in case, tryconsultingsolutions.com for more business and personal consulting. Book a session today. Here we are, still on the journey to fulfillment in all the aspects of your lives. I'm here in California, and you are all over the world. Welcome back. Were you able to guess from the Storytime segment which aspect of life we would talk about today? If you guessed the social aspect of life, then you were right. That particular life lesson of almost losing out on a career worth $120,000 annually because of my temper was extremely valuable to the man and businessman that I am today. The Connect the Dots word of the day from the Storytime episode preview to this very episode is neighbor. Episode 6, Enemy Proof Your Life. Filter out bad family and bad friends. Disclaimer. Just because you're wearing a bulletproof vest doesn't mean you won't be shot at. Same goes for enemy proofing. Just because you enemy proof your life doesn't mean your enemies won't still try to hurt you. It doesn't mean that your enemies won't succeed at hurting you. But the damage will be minimal and infrequent because of the self-care security measures that you learn from this episode. Business is always personal when personal interferes with business. The main reason why your personal life interferes with business is because you have undefined priorities or flimsy priorities or dumb priorities. Here's a dumb priority. I am a diehard 49ers fan for life. Every year, I go to as many games as I can. I watch every playoff game. I watch pregame, postgame. I'm in 2 fantasy football leagues, and I am one of the biggest 49er fans ever. Never mind that my wife filed for divorce, my kids don't like me, and I'm only 1 step above the entry-level position after 15 years of working at the same company. Maybe if I was a diehard husband, maybe if I was a diehard family man or businessman, maybe I could have celebrated some back-to-back championship seasons in my personal life instead of fanatically waiting for the 49ers to win another Super Bowl. Enemy-proofing your life demands that you establish your priorities in order to reach fulfillment in all aspects of your life. What is enemy-proofing, and who am I enemy-proofing, and priorities, and hold that thought. This segment of the podcast is called Wrong Again. This is where I air out my grievances and disagreements with popular, redundant, useless, everyday phrases that hinder people from achieving fulfillment in various aspects of their lives. Long live the right mindset, and may you pass it on to your kids so it lives even longer. Fake it till you make it. When it comes to your clothes, fake it till you make it. You don't have enough money to buy rich clothes. You have a budget. You have to live frugally. Fake it till you make it. Buy the most expensive clothes and act like you're rich. Fake it till you make it. You don't have expert knowledge or professional credentials when it comes to a certain job field that you're either pursuing or that you're already in. No, don't bother with getting more training or getting student loans and going to college or going to junior college. Don't bother with any of that. Just fake it till you make it. Watch a lot of YouTube, do a lot of research, and just kind of wing all the information that you have. Just wing it. Fake it till you make it. Dating. Fake it till you make it. As we talked about in one of the episodes, when you're emotionally desperate, you probably shouldn't date. Or when you're financially desperate, you probably shouldn't date. But if you're a part of the fake it till you make it, then just do whatever it takes to impress the girl. Or women, do whatever it takes to impress the guy. Just fake it. Fake that you have interest in what he's saying, that you have all the things in common, just so you can get a husband or procreate and get a kid. Fake it till you make it. And then once you make it, you don't have to fake it anymore. And then potentially they'll actually find out you're a fraud and ruin your kid's life. Fake it till you make it. Clout chasing, social media trending. Fake it till you make it. Go ahead. Get you an Airbnb, rent your car, create random courses when you don't even know what you're talking about or what you're doing. Write random books and then put yourself on Patreon and set up all these things to where people can pour into you. And then once again, once you make it, you no longer have to fake it. Now you actually have the money from the people that you hustled or you scammed. You actually have the clout and the network from other people who, by word of mouth or just by network association, believed in who you were, believed in what you were saying. Fake it till you make it. Then, once the people pay you and you get rich, then you don't have to fake it anymore. Fake it till you make it. And the list goes on and on. The phrase fake it till you make it is fruit from the poisonous mindset tree. Shout out to lawyers and legal definitions. There is no honor among thieves, and there is no honor among the fake people who are faking who they are, who are faking where they're from, what they do, and what they have. Big shake my head moments. Fake it till you make it. It makes you a thief and a liar. You're stealing an image. You're plagiarizing a life. You're usurping an authority and then lying about it and benefiting from it. It's virtually a emotional Ponzi scheme on people that you're having them invest in you, even though it's a fraud, and they're getting more and more people to invest in you. There's recommendations. There's whole word of mouth. Hey, this person made me feel good. This person gave me some little winged advice based on their non-expertise. I made a little bit of money. I tricked some other people into making money, and more people invest. Huge shake your head moments, shake my head moments. This is a criminal mindset, and thus it will yield criminal results. You'll end up with nothing. And if you never get caught, you'll still have nothing because you're a fraud. And deep down inside, you will know it. All your insecurities will flood out into all the other aspects of your life. Fake it till you make it. The reason why I'm starting this episode like this, I hate is a strong word. I hate posers. But we're surrounded by them, aren't we? And you have posers in your social circles. Hence the need for enemy proofing. Just recently, I posted on IG, and it was kind of like almost like a cosign post. I was watching YouTube, and I was watching this one guy get interviewed out of Atlanta, and it was talking about millionaires out of Atlanta, and the person that was doing the interview, he asked him some questions like, "Hey, where are you from?" And the guy said, "Hey, I'm from this particular part of California." And I was like, "Oh, I know that part of California. I actually policed in that area." It's an impoverished neighborhood. It's the hood. It's the trap. There's drugs, gangs. It's very hard to escape from it, let alone become a millionaire. So this particular guy, he became a millionaire. He's getting interviewed because he's one of the millionaires in Atlanta. And so I thought that was just really, really great. Felt inspired, like reading and looking at, or just listening and hearing this guy talk about his journey. So later on, I do just a little more research on who he is, but I first post what I saw. I screen recorded and placed it on my IG. I was all excited about it. And I did a little more research. And then I found out that there's kind of Ponzi scheme, financial fraud stuff circling around. The guy hasn't been convicted of it. And I don't know if he's going to get convicted of it. I don't even know if it's true. But I learned 2 lessons from this. One, don't just co-sign anybody, right? Do your research on them. Even when you're really excited about them, do research, find out who they are. And then 2, he said a particular phrase. The phrase he said was, dress for the future you want, not for the circumstance you're in. And to me, that's a roundabout way of saying, fake it till you make it. Now, you can dress nice. You can dress nice even from a frugal standpoint. I can go to the thrift store right now and find various things that will allow me to dress nice and dress in a professional manner. And from there, my work ethic, my knowledge, my knowledge of the subject or knowledge of whatever I'm trying to accomplish, my networking aspect, and then perseverance in a strategy to figure out how to succeed and progress, that will get me over the top. But faking it till you make it, or dressing a certain way when you haven't even reached that level, dressing like you're rich when you're not rich, those are all fake it till you make it types things. And when he said that, that's actually what made me want to do the research on him. And then I dug a little deeper. I'm not co-signing anybody until I do research on them. And I actually left the guy on my page as a reminder to me. Fake it till you make it. Posers. Cannot stand posers. According to Britannica.com, the definition of poser is a person who dresses or behaves in a deceptive way that is meant to impress other people. Deceptive way. Dresses or behaves deceptively. Cannot stand it. One of my family members is the biggest poser, one of the biggest posers I've ever met in life. And they're just in my family. And they are constantly at different events. And the posery doesn't stop. And I, just like you, have come across a lot of posers in my life. I'm talking Bernie Madoff posery. I'm talking Milli Vanilli posery. I'm talking Kendall from Succession posery. I'm talking Brutus to Caesar, Judas to Jesus posery. Posery is not even a word. Just like those posers aren't real people. Enemy proofing. This is why we need enemy proofing. Part of enemy proofing your life is being able to spot the posers and maneuver around them. And if you happen to be trapped or surrounded by posers in your family or your career, don't panic. Just move methodically, develop a safety plan and an exit strategy. This episode will show you how to do that. Hold this thought until the end of this episode. Back to priorities. Being a diehard 49ers fan while all the other aspects of your life crumble around you is a dumb priority. If anything, it's probably better to be a diehard Saints fan like me. Yeah. Point is, enemy-proofing your life requires setting boundaries. The definition of priorities is a thing that is regarded as more important than another thing. A thing that is regarded as more important than another thing. Priorities. You have life priorities and love priorities. let's go over the life priorities. When I was in the military, in the Marine Corps, and we were getting trained, and all throughout my time, my enlistment, the priorities were recommended for a Marine to have God, country, core, family, friends. That was the recommendation. God, country, core, family, friends. Rock and roll also has priorities, at least in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, things like maybe even the 80s. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, man. Texas has its own priorities. In Texas, Texas is the priority. Texas forever. In the streets and studying crime, criminology, money, power, respect. Those are the priorities. And of course, not getting caught. In music and hip hop, beats, rhymes, and life. Shout out to Tribe Called Quest. For lawyers, state and federal laws, judge, client, billable hours is the priorities. Law, judge, client, billable hours. For doctors, Hippocratic Oath, HIPAA regulations, patients, staff, modern medical best practices, medical technology, innovations. Those are all priorities. For cops, business owners, career professionals, athletes, entertainers, the employed, the unemployed, for transients, for animals, for plants, nature, all have priorities. Even newborn babies have priorities. First priority as a newborn is to breathe. Second priority as a newborn, to get dressed. Third priority as a newborn is to eat and drink. And of course, a newborn can't dress themselves, they can't feed themselves, and somebody has to provide them things to drink as well. And really, the biggest priority for a newborn, if you're a parent, you know this, and even a toddler, and even when they're older, and sometimes even for teenagers, the biggest priority for them, and they're very adamant about this, is relief and comfort. Hence, crying, screaming, and pouty faces. Shout out to my granddaughter, Trinity. Coco Melon? What are your life priorities? Outside of basic health, food, shelter, and clothing, what are your life priorities? What should they be? Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, like, share, comment. Emphasis on the comments. Right now, so far, we've talked about priorities and dumb priorities. What were your priorities before this episode? What were your priorities when you were really young? Generation Z, young adults, what are your priorities right now? Please, I want to hear it in the comments. Let's talk about this. Also, fake it till you make it. I can do a whole show on fake it till you make it. It's a huge frustration of mine to see posers. Let's keep going. As a teenager, my life priorities were look good, have fun, don't be soft, hoop, get girls, write raps, get good enough grades, try to be a good kid, respect my spiritual faith. As a young adult, my life priorities were, and this is when I was in the Marine Corps, they, like I said, the Marine Corps, they suggested it be God, country, core. For me, my priorities actually were God, job, look good, don't be soft, have fun, get girls, write raps, hoop, try to be a good man, make a family, make a healthy family, and plan for the future. As of now, my priorities are exactly what they should be. My priorities are God, marriage, kids, fulfillment journey. That's it. God, marriage, kids, fulfillment journey. Establishing proper life priorities is the most important part of enemy-proofing everything in your life. The second most important part of enemy-proofing is establishing proper love priorities. Love priorities. In what order do you love, like, dislike, and hate the people who you surround yourself with? Here are the options: pets, siblings, coworkers, parents, family, spouse, strangers, neighbors, kids, enemies, co-parents, faith, or your transcendent source. This is all very much hard work. Let's get a little clarity on every one of these options. Pets. Okay. If you're a dog person, a cat person, a pet person, some people say it's a form of camaraderie, a form of therapy. Um, some people actually call their pets their human companions, whatever the case is. And sometimes when in a marriage, particularly, or in a family, one person may love that pet and another person may dislike the pet or hate the pet or whatever the case is. But it's important for both to determine what their love priority is regarding that particular pet. Siblings, similar situation, similar to parents even. You can't choose who's going to be your siblings. You weren't in the room or the car or wherever your sibling was conceived. TMI, I get it. But you have to determine, even though they're your siblings, and of course you love them in the sense that the familial love, but do you like them? Does everybody like every single sibling that they have? Do you dislike them? Do you hate them? Where do they stand in your life? Coworkers. All right, you just met some random coworker. You got to know them. You have to partner with them. You have to be in a group with them. You have to have good teamwork, but maybe you don't have the best chemistry. Do you like them? Or sometimes they actually turn out to be one of your best friends or family members. Do you love them? Do you like them, dislike them, or hate them? Your parents, back to the siblings piece, similar, or even family, parents and family. More particularly your parents, because they birth you. And of course you give them almost priority respect or primary respect, more respect than you give to other people. However, you love them from a familial standpoint, but do you like them? Do you dislike them? Do you hate their behavior? Or ultimately, do you hate them? Were they bad parents? Parents on one end, you have great parents, you have terrible parents, and then everything in between. And the in between makes it pretty hard to decide where they fit in your love priority. Family, different family, whether it's your inner family, intermediate family, or whether it's your cousins or second cousins or distant relatives. Where do they stand? Spouse, similar to parents, is a very unique relationship because it's your spouse. Of course, you can fall in love with them. You can love them and want the best for them. You can fall in and out of love with them. But do you like them? Do you dislike them? Do you hate them? If you did get a divorce or a separation, how do you feel about them? Where do they fit in your love priority? Strangers, stranger danger. Okay, so part of this episode is for us to really understand enemy proofing. Kids are taught at a young age, stranger danger, stay away from them. Okay, what if they're not a stranger and they're still danger? I say it again. What if they're not a stranger and they're still danger? Where do they fit in your love priority? Where do they fit in your life? If they're a danger and they're your family, if they're a danger and someone that you loved or used to love, but now they pose dangerous threats to you. They're toxic. They can actually hurt you. They can discourage you. They can be verbally abusive, emotionally abusive, physically abusive. We're so good at stranger danger, but when they're not a stranger and they're still dangerous, you're not sure where to categorize them. And in the grand scheme of things, this is miscategorizing these particular people in your love priorities, right? And you prioritize them wrong. That's why you suffer in your life. That's why you have many moments of unfulfillment. That's why it spills over into other aspects of your life. Although we're just talking about the social aspect, this can spill over into your marital aspect of your life. This can spill over into the financial aspect of your life, the aspirational aspect of your life. This can spill into the parental aspect of your life. Stranger danger, but known people in your lives are also dangerous as well. Neighbors, the connect the dot word from the Storytime episode. It's going to be a huge thing in this episode. Neighbors, do you like them? Do you dislike them? Did they become close family to you to where you love them? Do you hate them? I deal with all types of calls as a cop of terrible neighbors. They're nuisances to each other. It gets so bad. The feuding gets so bad. Hatfields and McCoys, Bloods and Crips. It turns into this whole hatred type thing to where somebody moves away, or there's civil harassment orders that are placed on each other. When two neighbors are fighting, they clearly know what their love priority is. There's no love on either side. They hate each other. Kids, love priorities. When kids become adults, of course, in the beginning, maybe even before the teenager side, but maybe even the infant side, there's some struggles, or the terrible twos, there's struggles, teenage years, struggles, young adult years, struggles. However, you love your kids. I love you so much. But in those particular struggles, do you always like your kids? If you say you always like your kids, I know you're lying. And that's a bad start for you. Be honest with yourself. Just roll back, admit that you were lying. You don't always like your kids. In fact, you dislike them. Maybe part of the time, maybe half the time, maybe most of the time. I don't know. But I don't think you hate your kids, but there are some relationships that fall into that category of hatred. I don't condone the hatred aspect, just throwing it out there. But I understand how we can get there at different times. Enemies, self-explanatory. There is no love for enemies. The love priority list for an enemy, they should always be at the bottom. They're trying to hurt you. They're trying to harm you. Now, if you were somebody else's enemy, meaning you treated them wrong and you became their enemy, or they deemed you an enemy, and it's accurate as far as what you've done, then of course you should probably try to reconcile, to not be on anybody's enemy list. But some people are petty. Sometimes it's false, fraudulent claims and accusations that they put on people. So I understand that. Enemies, self-explanatory. On the love priority list, enemies are at the bottom. Co-parenting. They can end up being an enemy at times too. But do you love, like, dislike, hate your co-parent? Your faith, your transcendent source, the rules of your life, the rooted dimension of your life, being whether you're theocentric, whether you're scientific centric to your life. What is the center purpose of what makes you you? Your faith, where does that rank in your love priority? This is hard work. Talking about this particular list, and let me just prepare you. This is going to be a little longer episode, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to be a great episode for the fact that we're doing some hard work that people don't want to do, and this is what we do in Try Consulting. Setting up your love priority list, and even your life priority list, but really the love priority list, it's like a draft. It's like there's people you got that are on your team, that are in your love priorities list, that's in your circles, that you didn't pick. You were just born into them being in your circle. And then there's other people that you picked, people that you drafted. And then as time goes on, you see the people that you chose to be around, you decided was going to be impactful in your life. You see if it turns out to be a good draft pick, or if it turns out to be a bust. Think about that. How many people in your life, friend, family, otherwise, that you once had great times with, great memories with, how many people turned out to be a bust? How sad were you about it? Or did it end badly? Were you happy to get rid of them and to get them out of your lives? Or was it a struggle to get them out of your lives? Sometimes, as we see, it's not always a smooth transition in the business side when it comes to athletes and drafting them and releasing them and sending them back to the minors or to the G League. There's all types of there's all types of little nuances and relationships and conversations and plans that go into that. And that's just in sports, which is just entertainment. Your life is more important than entertainment or sports. This is hard work. This is Try Consulting Solutions recommendations of what your love list should be. the priority. It should be your love list, top to bottom. Love the most, the bottom, love the least, and or hate. Your faith, your transcendent source, who you are, the rules and regulations, the ethics and the morals of you. That's what you love. That's where your love comes from. Goes at the top of the love priority list. Your spouse goes second, love priority list, because who you are, once you marry someone, you become one with them. And so, of course, this is a part of who you are. So they should be loved. It should be high priority love for them, even more than your kids. Now, for those of you who don't have a spouse, then it doesn't apply to you. That spousal category doesn't apply. Same with it when it comes to kids. If you don't have any kids, it doesn't apply. Kids should be directly under your spouse because you have made a commitment by having that child. You committed to, and even if you did not commit to that child, you still chose to do whatever method, sex, it took to create them. Now, some people get trapped, and I understand that, and that's a whole nother side. But if you are, and this goes back to the top part, depending on your faith or your transcendent source, how you live your life, that if any kid comes from you, then it is your responsibility to raise them. If you take on that commitment and it is your responsibility, then they should be a high priority on your love priority list. Parents, your parents, notice how spouse should go ahead of the parents based on Tri Consulting Solutions recommendations. Parents, they are high priority on your love priority list. Siblings, they go below the parents. They go below your spouse, below your kids, but they're still very important. Co-parents, that's a whole nother thing. And we can do a whole episode on feelings for co-parents, particularly if you have a healthy dynamic, if you have good chemistry with them, even though you're not together anymore, or maybe you don't. But still, the co-parents should be a high priority while you're still raising kids together, co-parenting together. And let's just kind of get this clear too, that co-parenting, it doesn't stop when your child becomes an adult as 18. That part, you're still co-parenting with them. Now, you may not have the same responsibilities of raising them from childhood and adolescence to adulthood, but the adulthood aspect, they still very much need you. Agreed? Agreed. Family. This is outside of your immediate family, outside of your parents and your siblings. Family, on the love priority list, they're still relatively high, right? Closer to the top than they are to the bottom, depending on the family member. But family is typically higher than friends. Friends is just below family. Sometimes your friends are your family. I understand that. Same thing applies. Pets. I keep saying pets because everybody loves pets. Lots of people love pets. It's a huge thing. It's a billion-dollar industry of taking care of pets. So I get it. But your pets should not come before your friends, or your pets should not come before healthy, close family members, or pets should not come before your kids or your spouse, or pets should not come before your faith, your growth, your self-care. Coworkers. Okay, we're getting lower on the list here. So love priorities for coworkers. This is the aspect, and this is an aspect as far as because you have to work with them. You have to have a working relationship with them. You're committed to working at a certain company and they pair you with somebody, then that's particularly, and they pair you with somebody, then you have to make the best of it. There are certain expectations that you're still supposed to meet. There's certain productivity levels you're still supposed to meet, or efficiency levels that you're still supposed to meet, whether you like the coworker or not. So they still end up on the love priority list. Now, some coworkers are just amazing. And I currently have great coworkers that I work with. I got love for them. Neighbors. Neighbors. Once again, the connect the dot word. Neighbors. This is going to be a key component of this. I cannot wait to express how neighbors fit in to categorizing various people in your social circles, your family circles, and even on your enemy list. Neighbors. There's good neighbors. There's bad neighbors. There's in between. Strangers. We already know. And now neighbors are clearly at the low end of your love priority. Like if your neighbor's on fire or their house is on fire or things like that, would you help them? Yeah, you probably would. Just like you would probably help a stranger. But sometimes you may have good moments with your neighbors and you understand what it's like living in that particular neighborhood. You rely on your neighbor for neighborhood watch stuff in case there's suspicious activity or you rely on your neighbor. Strangers. We already talked about it. Stranger danger. This is pretty much the low end of your love priority. I could go 50-50. It can go either way. It kind of fits in the neighbor category. If a stranger was on fire, would you put them out? Would you throw water on them? Would you assist them? If a stranger needs some help with they're holding things and they're exiting the store and you open the door for them, or if they drop something, would you be a good neighbor to a stranger? That type of thing. But it's second to last on the love priority. What do you think the last person, the last titled person or category of people, what do you think the last category is for the love priority list? You guessed it. Enemies. Enemies. But as we continue in this episode, we're going to dig into what it means for someone to be an enemy. Now, with me being a police officer, I arrest criminals all the time. I don't even consider every criminal to be my enemy. They actually fall in the category of a stranger who makes poor choices in life or a bad neighbor who makes poor choices in life. Not every criminal is an enemy, particularly the ones that are doing misdemeanors. Some felony stuff is high. Of course, the felonious, the predicate felons, the things like that, those high level things, of course, they're an enemy to society or an enemy to the state or enemy to the region that I'm policing. And I understand that. But I am not one of the police officers that believe just because somebody commits a crime that they're necessarily an enemy. But I also, on the other side of that, I assess them accordingly. And when somebody's an enemy, they just are. This is the love priority list. Now, you have just gotten a free consultation from Try Consulting Solutions about the order of the love priority list. There are 13 categories. This love priority list is the default only. Yes, I am aware that all 13 categories may not apply to you. Got it. Hold that thought. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, like, share, comment. In this podcast, we do sample assessments all the time now. The purpose of these assessments is to give you an idea of how Try Consulting Solutions provides consultation to our clients. We provide consultations based on these assessments. We can analyze the data that we obtain from your responses to customize strategic plans, which will ultimately increase fulfillment in various aspects of your life. Today's assessment is a filter assessment called the enemy proofing assessment. We are enemy proofing all your family, friends, enemies, and others. Yes, we are even enemy proofing your enemies. Once again, I'll explain that later. Naturally, in a person's life, they will have a family circle or a circle of friends, and consciously or subconsciously, a list of enemies. A list of enemies. Case in point, you know who your enemies are. You remember who your enemies have been. You remember when somebody was trying to be petty with you, when somebody was trying to gaslight you, when somebody was trying to pick on you, was trying to instigate fights with you. You remember these particular things. You know who didn't like you, who was jealous of you, or who you didn't like, or who you were jealous of. Maybe you've been on other people's enemies list. However, you do have an enemy list, whether you admit it or not, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. Something else to add in the comments. Think about it. This is where the real fun begins. By taking this filter assessment, you will be able to properly create your love priority list. By creating a proper love priority list, you will be able to save thousands of dollars in money and thousands of hours of time. How does that sound? Every year, you have a certain amount of time. You have a certain amount of money. I want you to think about in your past, in your present, and in your future, how much money have you spent on someone you're not even sure that you like? How many birthday parties have you gone to where you didn't even like the particular person and you just went because they were a part of your friend group or they were a part of your family group? How many times does that happen? And how many times have you bought a gift for them? How many hours was that? And you had to schedule it and you had to plan it months in advance. And then how many excuses did you bring up for reasons of not going? And shout out to my one boy. I did miss your birthday party this past weekend. It's not because of this at all. Promise you, bro. Like we're good. Like I'm not ghosting you in any way. Anyways, in life, there has been people that I have ghosted on purpose or had to really think about, do I even want to be around them? We've all had that. They're a part of an enemy proofing group. But I want you to really think about how much time, whether it's past, present, and future, will you waste? How much time will you waste in the future on some undeserving people in your enemy proofing group? Right now, they're just in your group because you haven't enemy proofed them yet. But you kind of already know some people. There's already some question marks around some people that you're not sure how to categorize them. They're a friend of a friend or a friend of a family member. They're close to them. And if you separate from this one person, it may distance you from other people. There may be collateral damage. How can you avoid that? You could avoid that by continuing to listen to this episode. Subscribe. After creating a proper love priority list, you can apply it to your life priority list. This will bring ultimate freedom to the social aspect of your life. There have been numerous friends and family members that I have lost sleep over, stressed about in the past because of their shady and confusing movements, because of their selfishness, and because of their messy poser lifestyles. Every time I say the word poser, I just get mad because I start thinking about all the time and money I've wasted on different posers. How do we improve upon this? Here are 5 steps to establishing your enemy proofing group. All right, we gotta dig into this. We gotta figure out, how are we going to enemy proof all these people in our lives in the 2 circles, right? The family circle, the circle of friends, and the enemy list. How do we enemy proof our life to where we can actually have peace? Now, I will tell you this, there is so much peace in letting go of stress, of letting go of dead weight in your life. And it's not even when you let go of people or you move on from them, you're not wishing them the worst. You still hope for them. You still care from a distance maybe. Or maybe you don't care at all, but the freedom is you don't have to think about them anymore. You don't have to have provision for them. You don't have to come up with excuses on why you don't want to be around them. There is freedom in this, and then you can utilize all of that extra time and extra money that you've saved, and you could put it towards your business, towards your family, towards the other top love priorities in your life. Here are 5 steps to establishing your enemy proofing group. Step 1, ask these filter assessment questions for each individual person in your life. Every single person and every single pet. Yes, even the pets. You have to determine where they fit. Step 2, Assign them to one of these 6 positions. So there's the enemy proofing group, and there's the enemy proofing positions within the group. Step 3, set the boundaries for each of the 6 enemy proofing positions. Set boundaries. That's also, now you can identify, and it's already going to take a lot of energy and a lot of time for you to identify who the people are in your lives, or to enemy proof your life. It's already going to take a lot to enemy proof your life. Once you enemy proof your life, you need to set boundaries on all 6 positions of the enemy proofing. And that also takes some time. But once again, it is well worth it. Once you do it, you don't have to necessarily do it again, but you get better at it. Maybe you have to do some updates. Maybe you have to modify it. But setting the boundary is very important. Step 4, on a regular basis, customize the boundaries of that category for that person as needed. Step 5, advise or don't advise the person of the position you've placed them in. I'll tell you when you should tell people that you're putting them in a certain enemy proofing position and when you shouldn't tell them. All right, let's begin. Step 1, how are you connected to them? Are you connected by blood, family? Are you connected to them by environment, such as did you work with them? Have you done training with them? Are you in the same neighborhood as them? What environment led you to actually meeting them? Do you have mutual acquaintances? How are you connected to them? Are you a friend of a friend? Did you have a meet cute encounter? That's a Hollywood word. That's romantic comedies, meet cute. Did you meet somebody some strange way? It doesn't have to be guy or girl. And also it doesn't have to be an intimate type thing or making it weird. Like sometimes you are in a group, you're in a certain setting, and maybe you're people watching, or you and another person have the same reaction. And you're like, oh, that's funny. Dude, how you doing? Like, I'm John or whatever. You're not hitting on them. It's just you happen to laugh at the same thing, or you happen to react the same way to the same thing. It could be reacting to bad food or seeing somebody fall, which seeing somebody fall is not necessarily funny unless you're immature, and I'm immature at times. How are you connected to them? Small talk encounter. You're just maybe networking and you meet somebody and then you connect with them on a friend level, guy or girl. And you're just like, you find out that you have more things in common. How did you connect to them? That's number 1. Number 2, what do you have in common? That determines how much more you connect with them. If you actually like them, dislike them, if they turn out to be one of your best friends, if you actually invite them to your wedding, these things can happen. And this leads into question 3. Do you enjoy their company? Do you enjoy their company? That's a yes or no question. It's not a kind of. If it's a kind of, then it's no. It's either yes or no. It's very simple. I'll give you the example of Motown. Berry Gordy, he created Motown, right? And that's where like Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, the Temptations, all these different groups came from. This huge, huge label. And when he was doing, and I saw this in a particular movie, it may have been The Temptations, but when he was product testing a certain song, a certain single that was just created, he wanted to test if it was a good song. And so he would play it. He would play the song for specific people in order to survey their responses. And when they were listening to it, sometimes the song would be trash, right? And they'd be listening to it and you could tell that it was trash. They didn't like it. Other times it would be good. And their response would be good. Like, oh, I really like this. I really love this song. This is really cool, right? So when I'm talking about, do you enjoy their company? I'm comparing it to Motown and did they enjoy the song? So Berry Gordy, being very astute business-wise and really trying to get down to how much they enjoyed the song, he would ask a specific question. If you were down to your last $5, would you buy this particular song that you say is good, that you say you like, or would you go buy some food or go buy some candy or go buy a drink or something else. And based on their answer, he would know whether or not they really enjoyed the song. Some people would say, I want to buy this right now. Where can I get it? Other people would say, I would probably buy a sandwich, or I'd probably get something else. So when I'm asking in this filter assessment, in this enemy grouping filter assessment from Tri Consulting Solutions, we're asking, do you enjoy their company? Yes or no, in the sense of, would you rather spend time with them or one of your other love priorities? And if the answer is, one of your other love priorities, then you don't really enjoy their company as much. 4, what's the aftertaste? Strange question. What's the aftertaste? How do you feel post-encounter? Do you actually miss them? Think about it. You had a really good time with somebody and you're like, oh, bro, I got to go. I wish we could keep going. We're going to, let's meet up another time. Like, you're super funny. We had a lot of fun. Can't wait to meet up with you again. That's one of those things where that you're vibing with somebody, or you're really connecting with them, or they're becoming your friend. You enjoy really spending time with them to the point that you actually might miss them. Like, oh, dude, I'm so frustrated that I didn't get to go to your party. Bro, I'm sorry. Once again, I did want to go to the party. So this is where I'm at. I actually am frustrated I didn't get to go. All right. 5, what do you want them to be in your life? It's a fair question. Are they just your drinking buddy? Are they just someone that's entertaining, someone you like going out with, but you wouldn't necessarily put them around anything serious in your life, just entertainment only? Or do you want them to be a business partner? Do you want them to be in your wedding one day? Do you want them to be the godparent to your kid? What do you want them to be your best friend? And we can talk about this. It's okay if when you meet people you really like them and you want them to be your best friend. They may not choose you as a best friend, but that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But be honest with yourself. Like, bro, you're pretty much the best friend that I have. I have the most fun with you. We're cool. Or from women's standpoint, they're just very funny. They're just very cool, and you love meeting people with them. You love how funny they are. You have the same fashion sense. You want to do various things with them. But in girl world, even in guy world, but in girl world specifically, it can get messy really quick, especially when some of your other best friends see you bringing in somebody new and you're close to them for whatever reason. I watched my wife go through so much kind of strange behavior from women being jealous of other women and the whole attention factor. And then it just turned into like, I don't like so-and-so. They think they're this, or they think they're that, or their outfit's trash, or they're not that smart. I don't know why. It gets so messy. Anyways, number 5, what do you want them to be in your life? Number 6, what do you like about them? It's important for you to know what you like about every single person in your life. Now, some of these things, like when I'm talking about whether it's 1 through 6 right now, your mind is thinking about an acquaintance or stranger or coworker. I want you to think about family members, your kids, your spouse. What do you like about them? What do you want them to be in your life? And go all the way back. Don't just think about new friends, new people in your life. Think about everybody, all the way down to animals, the pets. Think about that. Number 7, what confuses you about them? Like, what are some of their movements that they make? What are some of their movements that they make where you're like, that wasn't smart. Oh, you kind of got a lot of dumb priorities. Or, why are you doing that? I don't know if I can vibe with that. Yeah, I don't drink. No, I don't do that. Parents, the parent side, what confuses you about your parents? What confuses you about your kids? What confuses you about your cousins? About anybody in your life? Assess that and then put them in the love priority side of where they need to be. Um, but we're still just in the assessment aspect as far as enemy proofing your life. What confuses you, or what confuses you about them, whoever they are? Number 8, do their actions show that they feel the same way about you? Do they love you or care for you? Do they like you? Do their actions show this? Or are they kind of sabotaging you? Are they kind of doing little weird things? Something to consider. Othello. That is a play where it's showing that the hero or the main character has a friend that's sabotaging him, but the main character thinks he can never think that anybody that his close friend would sabotage him. Do their actions show that they feel the same way about you that you feel about them? Number 9, do they want to see you win? Falls into number 8. Are they really rooting for you? Number 10, do they help you win? Not do they do all the work for you, but do they support you? Do they help you win? Do they give you suggestions, creative things? Or are they just being negative and hope you lose so you don't surpass them? The do they help you win piece means that if from a competitive standpoint, that they turn off the competitiveness because they're not competing with you because they're rooting for you. Number 11, are they posers? Figure that out quickly, please. I mean, that should be almost number one thing. But are your parents posers? Is your family members posers? Is your friend group posers? Is your coworkers posers? Are they posers? Think about that. Not just new people in your life, the old people in your life. The reason why we're enemy proofing is because you can spot the new people. That isn't hard. It's the old people that become dead weight, that become toxic or unhealthy. That's what we're enemy proofing. Number 12, how do they interact with your other close family and friends? Number 13, are they messy? Number 14, what are their weaknesses? Ladies, this is a tough piece for you, right? Because you think being honest and transparent at times with your friend is you talking mess about them, or you're concerned about how it's going to make them feel, or how they're going to react or respond. What are their weaknesses? What are your closest friends' weaknesses? Do you know what they are? Have you thought about it, or are you just ignoring it and not being honest with them? Ladies, example, when your friend is saying, "Hey girl, how do I look in this dress?" And you know that it's a problem, that they look like a dumpster fire, or they look bad, like it looks trash, like, and you don't tell them, you don't say, "Hey girl, like maybe you should do this or do that." Don't, there's no need to be abusive about it, but be honest. Now it's funny because dudes, we don't even really ask that much. Sometimes we do, but dudes will like be super honest and be like, "You look trash, and that's why you don't get any girls," or like, or get a haircut, lose some weight, do better in life. You're taking some losses right now. What are their weaknesses? What are your parents' weaknesses? What are your kids' weaknesses? What is your favorite cousin's weakness? What is your auntie's weakness? What is your coworker's weakness? Oh, here's a great one. What is your boss's weakness? Can you identify that? because that's important. That's important in determining how you connect with them, your expectations of them. It's important in determining can you continue to be subordinate to them? What are their weaknesses? And how do you enemy proof against that? That's what this assessment is for. 15, can you trust them completely? Can you trust them mostly? Can you trust them partially? Can you trust them at all? Valid questions. And that is the end of step 1. Going through that assessment, that's the first part of it. And it's to filter out certain things. Who are your people and who are not your people? Step 2, assign them to one of these 6 enemy proofing positions. So you just went through all those 15 things based on the answer for one individual. And you need to do this for everyone in your life. So for all the different people on social media that say you have 1,000 followers or 1,000 friends or 7,000 or 10,000, good luck. Narrow it down to, 100 people that you know that are actually really close to you, or not just from a influencer standpoint or YouTuber standpoint or just a social media entertainment standpoint. Narrow it down and do the assessment for each person. And then once you do that in step 1, go to step 2 and assign them to one of these 6 enemy proofing positions. So you've established your enemy proofing group. Now we need to establish the enemy proofing positions for those group members to fall under. Position number 1, close family. Got it. Close family. These are the people you love. These are the people you trust 100%. These are the people that you would die for, ultimately. 2, position number 2, close friends. It's right there. Close friends, close family, close friends. All positive. This is who you celebrate with when you have great times. These are the people that are in your weddings. You know who else you would put in your wedding? 3, good neighbors. They're not necessarily your family. They're not necessarily your close friends, but they're really good neighbors. Now, neighbors, the connected dot word of the day. Neighbors. This is very, very, very important, because in most cases, and I call this I wanted to call this whole enemy proofing group, I wanted to call it the La Femindamise group, right? That's what I was leaning towards, La Femindamise. And that's family, friends, and enemies and the whole thing. But it doesn't have the same ring as frenemies. And I was thinking about you guys, and I don't want to keep saying La Femindamise. It sounds stupid. Anyways, neighbors. This is the missing category. When we're talking about putting people in your family, friends, or enemies, like it goes straight from family to enemies, or it goes straight from somebody's either on my side, right, family and friends, to, oh, if you're not with me, you're against me, you're my enemy. It's not necessarily the case. This position, good neighbors, think about it. A good neighbor, somebody that'll look out for you, that if your garage was left open overnight, they'll knock on your door and let you know to shut your garage. Somebody that if your car door was open for some reason, they would shut your car door. Someone that if they saw your particular dog run away from the house and before it turns into a missing pet or gets stolen or killed or whatever the case it is, they would get your dog and bring it back to you. Someone that if you lost money, dropped money on the ground, they would bring it to you. Good neighbors. Those are the type of people that you would invite to your wedding. Good neighbors, people that are on the woman's side. Ladies, when a woman is just like, whether a coworker, and it's not just neighbors, has nothing to do with the neighborhood you live in and them just living across the street from you or living next door to you. These are just people that you pass by or that you're at work, People you have, they start out as peers or maybe colleagues or acquaintances. Those are your neighbors, your cubicle neighbors. Your for my fam, David Watch. We started out as beat partners, um, as a team. Those are neighbors, people that are on your team. Don't get confused with some of this terminology. It's so easy to just go back to the old traditional ways of how you see people. We are in the 21st century. How about we recategorize things and think about things strategically? Think about things meticulously. Think about things in an innovative way. Now, I'm not saying neighbors is, the wheel or anything, or it's not inventing new technology, but it is a part of a system, part of a strategy, a part of this consultation that could completely revolutionize your life. Good neighbors. Okay, it was good neighbors. Got it. A number 4 position, neighbors. So typically you would have good neighbors and bad neighbors. Nope. Sometimes they're just neighbors. They're not necessarily good or bad. They actually fall into the stranger category, right? They fall into the category of that you don't know what they're going to do, but they're sometimes they're good. Sometimes they're just unknown. They're just there, kind of thing. They're in neighbor status. That could be a coworker that you're not really close to. That can be a peer you're not close to, but you still are on the same team. You're still in the same region. You still work for the same city, or you still have the same goal, but you're not necessarily close with them for them to become a good neighbor. You're not close to them to where they can become a close friend. You're not close to them to where they can become an honorary family member, but they're not a bad neighbor, right? Number 5, bad neighbors. This is a particular position, bad neighbors. This is a position of they have proven to either hurt you or try to hurt you or disrespect you or try to disrespect you. They show no regard for being a good teammate. They're actually a bad teammate. They're a bad peer. They're a bad colleague, but they're not your enemy. But they get on your nerves. You don't like being around them. You try to avoid them. You sometimes might say that you actually hate them. You want to make them an enemy. In fact, a lot of you have already put these bad neighbors on the enemy list. And this is the part where I was saying enemy proofing your enemies. They're not actually your enemy. They're just a bad neighbor. And sometimes you just don't mix with people. Now, it doesn't mean they're even a bad person. It just means our personalities don't fit. Like, there's been plenty of Marines that I've been around where we don't see the world the same. And that's okay. I don't judge them. I don't look up to them either. But I still have peace with the fact that we're different. And we don't kick it. We don't hang around each other. And that's okay. They're in the category of bad neighbors. Same thing goes for cops, police officers. Same thing goes for any field that you're ever going to be in. When I worked in call centers, there were different people that I didn't like. But back to the cops thing, there's different cops I don't like. It's just how it is. And some cops and police officers don't like me. Our personalities don't mix. And sometimes that has come to pass. But I didn't consider them an enemy. But depending on what they did or how they responded or what the normal reactions were, I did put them in the bad neighbors category. And as a police officer, it's just in the makeup of our relationships towards each other that if I don't like you, I'm still going to go on a call to be your cover. I'm still going to go code 3, emergency lights and sirens if you are in trouble to try to save you. You're still valued as a person. I'm still going to be a good teammate to you, even if you're not going to be a good teammate to me. I will still be a good neighbor to people that are bad neighbors. In fact, I'll still be a good neighbor to everybody on this particular list. Even number 6. Enemies. Enemies is the hardest because there's so much emotional baggage tied to it. There's so much trauma tied to it. A person can't be your enemy unless there's some trauma tied to it, unless there's actually evidence that they've tried to sabotage you, derail you, hurt you, fight you, gossip about you. Gossip is huge. Bro, if you're gossiping about me and you can't bring it to me, one, I don't do business with people that gossip. Two, I don't respect people that gossip. And that's, to me, gossipers fit in that category, particularly if they're gossiping about me. That's more than just bad neighbor stuff. You are trying to sabotage. You are trying to defame a person's character. You're trying to rebel rouse. But nevertheless, I am still a good neighbor, even to my enemies. And I suggest you do the same thing. These are the categories, the 6 categories. Once again, let's go back through it just a little bit here. Close family, 1. Close friends, 2. Good neighbors, 3. Regular neighbors, strangers even, 4. Bad neighbors, 5. Enemies, 6. These 6 enemy-proofing group positions are naturally a priority list and a succession plan. They're naturally a priority list, your love priorities, and they're a succession plan. How does that even work? Think about it. If you passed away, I don't care. Let's say you pass away and you have 6 kids, and your 6 kids fit into this category of close family. One of your kids is a close family person to you. Like you're super close with them. You love them. They love you. They obeyed every single thing that you ever told them to do. Plus you have great chemistry with them. You have every single thing in common with them. Close family. So be it. Then you had another kid that they actually ended up being a close friend, although they're family, but they're not as close to you as them. And it's very hard even saying this with kids, but I'm saying this to prove a point because this is how intricate this can get. This is how difficult it can get. And you feel like, oh, I'm putting one person over another. Yeah, you are, because you're being honest with yourself. Subconsciously, that's how you're thinking anyways. So when people actually, parents say like, I don't have a favorite, you do have a child that you have more in common with, or that you connect with, or you have more fulfilling moments with, more likable moments with. Think about it. You have, a parent to a child, multiple children, out of their whole lifespan of the parent being alive, they're going to have, let's say, 10,000 likable moments, great moments with one kid, and 8,000 with the other, and 6,000 with the other. Who did you have more fun with? Who did you have more likable moments? Does it mean you love them any less? You can love them the same and still have various levels of great moments with people. So let's say the second kid is, out of the 6 kids in this example, the second kid is a close friend, not necessarily super close family, but a close friend. The third friend, or the third kid, is just good to you, just a good kid. The fourth kid, they're all right. They're good. They're not necessarily in those other 3 kids category that maybe they've hurt you at various times, or they disrespected you, or they treat you sometimes good, sometimes bad. It's just it could go either way. The 5th kid is a bad neighbor to you. Your kid can be a bad neighbor to you. I cannot stress this enough, and I know this is going to be very hard to understand, but it's important. It's important if you want fulfillment in your life. It's important if you want to have a good business, because if you don't handle this personal stuff, then you are not going to be good in business, because there's a whole nother assessment for business that one day we're going to get to, but we can't get to the business part until we get to the personal stuff. One of your kids could be a bad neighbor out of the 6 kids. And that's heartbreaking. It's sad. There's trauma tied to it. There's frustrations, pain. That is a terrible situation to be in. No parent is hoping that their kid becomes their bad neighbor. Number 6, your kid could become your enemy. Just thinking about that, that's sad. None of my kids are my enemies. None of my kids are bad neighbors. None of my kids are neighbors to me at all. All of my kids are family, close family. But that could change. That could even change on my end. Maybe how they categorize me. I don't know. But something to think about. This episode is it's real. It's diving into it's diving deeply into areas of fulfillment and even areas of unfulfillment that people don't want to talk about. You have to be brave to talk about these things. And then, of course, the 6th kid. The 6th kid could be your enemy. And that is a struggle for parents. I see it all the time. It's a huge struggle for parents. Recently, I've had a call where there was a mother and son. And actually, I get these calls at least twice a month, 3 times a month. And this is in a nice neighborhood and all that. And called the police because they served an eviction notice on the kid, a young adult kid, Gen Z kid, standing up for Gen Z. Man, I'm hoping for you. I want to, please, Gen Z, please listen to these episodes to take advantage of life and to learn certain things and implement them right away. Because time is of the essence. Eventually, 20, you'll be 40. It just happens that quick. This particular lady, she called in because she had given her son a 30-day eviction notice maybe 4 months prior and went through the tough process of kicking her young adult kid out of the house because he was using drugs. And he wasn't getting a job, and he just wasn't being responsible with his life at that point. There was a whole lot of drama in the household, destroying things, cussing him out, being disrespectful. So the parent ended up kicking him out. The child became a transient, or the young adult became a transient on the street. And the mother, the father, they were so hurt and they were so sad and they missed him so much and they were so worried about him living on the street that they let him back in the house to live with them again, despite kicking him out. And if anybody in law enforcement or anybody in law or anybody that's ever gone through this is not an easy task to get someone evicted. Anybody that's in real estate, any of those things, you know it's not easy to get someone evicted. It takes time. So mother lets child back in, the young adult child. Child proceeds to do the same behavior all over again. Mother is at her wit's end. There's a particular boiling point. It comes to a head to where the kid is frustrated and damaging all types of stuff, and the mom she's at her wit's end. She calls us. She asks, "What can we do about it?" And the answer was, we can't do much of anything unless he actually breaks a crime or breaks the law. He did not commit a crime. He's not going to be able to go to jail. He's still going to stay and live with you. If you do want to charge him or do a citizen's arrest for vandalism on some things that are yours, it's going to be a cite and release, a citation, at least. And then you'd have to go to court and testify on your son, and still doesn't start the eviction process. She was so distraught. It was so hard to see. But her son's behavior was on the level of bad neighbor and enemy territory because the son did not care or love or reciprocate the same amount of love that the parents were giving to him. There was no reciprocity in it. Those are tough moments. Those are very tough moments. That's your kid. What parent easily categorizes their kid as an enemy? That is the task. Step 3, set the boundaries for each of the 6 positions. Here are my personal boundaries as an example. When somebody is in the 1 position, close family member, when they're in the 1 position, set the boundaries for each of the 6 positions. Here's my personal example. 1, I consider, with everybody that's in one of the 6 positions, I consider this while I'm putting them in these positions. And this is a part of enemy proofing. This is how to enemy proof the group that you've created and you've categorized. You put them in where they're supposed to go in their 6 positions. This part is letting you know how to categorize them. These are more questions you should ask yourself. What amount of trust, what amount of trust do you have for the people in these positions? When someone is a 1 or 2 position, close family, close friend position, I trust them 100%. When they're in the 3 category, as far as being a neighbor, I trust them 75%. When they're 4, I trust them 50%. That's neighbor and stranger, right? I trust them 50%. It can go either way, depending on how I feel that day, how I'm reading them, how I'm observing them. When they're in bad neighbor and enemy category, positions 5 and 6, I trust them 0%. Question number 2, what amount of vulnerability access do you permit the people in these positions to have? 1 and 2, 100% vulnerability access. You get all of me. And I hope I get all of you in that regard, as far as transparency of what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, what's going to be my next move. Complete trust. When you're in position 3, what amount of vulnerability access do I permit to you? 50%. When you are in position 4, you're a stranger or just a neighbor, and 3 was good neighbor, or 3 was good neighbor. Like, I trust you 50%. We're good. 4, where do I trust you? 0%. I don't know you. You're a neighbor, but I don't know you. You're a stranger. I don't know you. When you're in position 5 and 6, that you're a bad neighbor and you're an enemy, I wish I can give a negative percentage, but it doesn't mathematically make sense. But they're at a 0% as well. Number 3, who would you go on vacation with? This is to further help you understand. If it's very hard for you to put people in these 6 positions, in these enemy proofing positions, ask these questions about every single person. Would you go on a vacation with them? If the answer is nah, I wouldn't do it, then they're probably not a close family member or friend. Now, they could be. And that could be the one off thing or the exception. Like, oh, we're super close and all that. I just can't go on vacation with them because, they're a cheapskate, or, we just don't see eye to eye on vacation stuff. Okay, that's fine. But think about it. You definitely wouldn't take a neighbor on vacation with you. You definitely wouldn't take an enemy. You definitely wouldn't take a bad neighbor. But you would take your kid, right, who has the title of being your child, or you would take your cousin or your parent who has the title of being your parent, even though they're a bad neighbor to you or enemy to you. No, I'm not taking any enemies or bad neighbors on vacation with me. Number 4, who would you let borrow money if they needed it? Great question. Would you let a stranger borrow money if they needed it? Maybe. If my faith led me to do that, maybe. But this is a good question. Typically, you're not letting enemies borrow money. Typically, you're not letting bad neighbors borrow money, no matter who they are. Typically, you're not letting them borrow any money. That's just how it is. 5, who would you ask to borrow money from if you needed it? It's a great question. You would ask close family members, close friends. You wouldn't ask your enemies for money unless you felt led to. I can't say that for sure, but for the most part, you wouldn't. A bad neighbor, for the most part, you wouldn't. Maybe a neighbor, if you are super desperate, just anybody, stranger, sometimes that happens. Getting government assistance is basically getting help from strangers. That's what it is. And that's for another episode. Number 6, who would you do business with? Close family, close friends, people you trust. Now, this is the trust part. If I trust them 100% in most things that I'm doing, vacation, business, things like that, then I would do business with them. If I don't, close family, close friends, then maybe they're just a good neighbor that I wouldn't do business with. And that's okay. There's exceptions to all these things. You're just asking these questions of yourself so you can determine where they fit while you're enemy proofing your life. Number 7, who would you trust alone with your spouse or significant other? Whew. Who would you trust? Ladies, which one of your friends, your other girlfriends, would you trust alone with your husband? Wow. Who would you trust alone with your husband? Guys, fellas, dudes, who would you trust alone? Which one of your friends would you trust alone with your wife or your significant other if you're not married? There's a couple of people I would trust. 2 people I can think off the top of my head. Like, those are my dogs, for real. But these are questions you should ask about everybody. Number 8. And even going back to that number 7, who would you, even adding another caveat to it, who would you trust around your significant others alone if they were drunk? Just throwing that out there. 8, who would you trust alone with your kids? Close family, close friends. Good neighbors, maybe. Whew. Ugh, it's tough. It's a tough one. Number 9, who would you put as a beneficiary in your will? That's huge. But remember when I told you that it's actually a succession plan, that when you take the assessment and you're able to put the group of people into the enemy proofing group, you're able to establish that. Then once you put them in one of the 6 positions, that's actually a succession plan. You should already know who would go into your will based on your interactions with them. Now, it can become difficult if you and your spouse have different opinions about various people's positions within the enemy proofing group. Number 10, who would you die for? I'm not dying for my enemy unless, it's so hard to say these things. Unless I'm on my job or I feel led to do it for my faith, but I don't want to die for my enemy. I don't want to die for a bad neighbor. And I know you got the people I'm talking to, I know y'all wouldn't. Most of y'all would not die for your enemies or bad neighbors. But would you die for just a neighbor? Would you die for a stranger? I put my life on the line every day. And I have faced death before. I have scars to prove it. I have survived casualty situations. And that was me putting my life on the line. So I would put my life on the line for virtually everybody out of the 6 positions. But the question is, who would you die for? Now, who would I do it no hesitation at all for? Close family, close friends, easily. Good neighbors, easily. And that's step 3. We're just on step 3, but this is good. Keep going. Keep going. Don't stop here. Keep going. Finish this out and then apply it to your life. It will be worth it. Step 4, on a regular basis, customize your boundaries. Step 4, on a regular basis, customize the boundaries for that person as needed. Customize your boundaries because they may change. And this goes back to enemy proofing your enemy, that maybe they were your enemy at some point, but somehow they changed. And now they're no longer an enemy, but they're a bad neighbor. Maybe they did a good gesture. Maybe they asked for forgiveness, and you can upgrade them. You know, when you go to flights, right? You buy a ticket on a plane, and you want to upgrade your seat to first class, or upgrade your position in the line in order to get better seating. Be seated with Group A instead of Group E, so you can get better seating. Maybe somebody's going to change out of your enemy proofing group, and they are able, the boundaries, you're able to customize your boundaries, whereas you had them at enemy stage boundaries. Now you can upgrade them because they've changed or shown some form of contrition or remorse, and you can upgrade them to bad neighbor or just a neighbor. Sometimes things go like that, and that's really cool. Like, I've forgiven different people in my life, and it was nice not to have them as an enemy anymore. It was nice not to have them as a bad neighbor anymore. They may change. Step 5, final step here. Step 5, advise or don't advise the person of the position you've placed them in. Why? Okay. How's my tie bar? All right. Advise. Letting them know is a good thing, but it depends on how you let them know and why you're letting them know. Now, if you're letting a person know, hey, I'm putting you in the enemy group because you're an enemy to me, and I don't appreciate all the stuff that you've done, and if you cross me again, I'm gonna put hands on you or threaten you or anything like that. It's the wrong way to do it. You can advise like, hey, you've done a lot of shady stuff to me. I don't trust you. I don't mess with you anymore. That's you advising them. That's their advisement. If you choose not to advise them because of how maybe they're unhinged, maybe they're crazy, and don't let you saying like, oh, they're just crazy, just so you don't have to do the hard work of advising them. Like, legit, like, maybe, and if they are really crazy, then you need to get a restraining order and you need to go through the proper channels to protect yourself legally. But if you don't advise them, it's more of a, and we'll talk about this aspect of it, that advising them only sparks more conniving behavior out of them. Advising them and letting them know is telegraphing them that you see them as an enemy. And particularly if this is in a work environment, if you see them as an enemy and you express that, they'll use that against you in various ways. Particularly if they are your boss. Can you tell your boss, like, hey, you're my enemy? You could, but it may not be the smartest thing to do. And keep in mind that maybe if you express and confront their behaviors and they have been your enemy and time goes on, they also could change and no longer be a particular enemy to you. But advise or don't advise, do that strategically. Think about why you would, why you wouldn't. Some people don't even deserve for you to tell them that. Some people have caused so much trauma to you and your family that there is no advising. They already know. This is no different than somebody that rapes another person. The rapee doesn't need to tell the raper that that they consider them an enemy. When someone steals millions of dollars or thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars from you, you don't need to tell them that, hey, now you're my enemy or now you're a bad neighbor. So keep in mind when to do it and why you're doing it. Establishing this enemy-proofing group will provide you with a priceless amount of peace, the type of peace that will allow you to prosper in your personal world and your business world. A major reason why business owners are successful is because they shrewdly identify who to invest in and who to divest from. Titles and history don't matter as much as the current value and projected value of the individual. Standing up for Gen Z segment. Gen Z, I'm rooting for you. You already know I am. I care about you, and it's not just because my kids are a part of Gen Z, but this is primarily for them and is for you guys as well. I'm rooting for you. Parents of Gen Z, this particular section is for you in regards to your kids. As you're categorizing, as you're enemy-proofing your life, you want to make sure that you are not your child's enemy. You want to make sure that you are not bringing them to wrath, that you are not being abusive with them, that you are not being toxic with them. And not because they're sensitive, but because you've learned more about parenting over the years. Now you have more resources than ever before. Parents of Gen Z, you can get therapy. You can establish a great relationship with them. You can improve your relationship with them. But you actually need to look at them as where they are in your life. Where do you place them? Are your kids a close family? Are they close family, close friend? Are they good neighbors to you? What are they in your life, in your world? And treat them accordingly. What are you in their life? Are you just family by title? You're just their parent? That's it? You're not, and I don't use this word loosely as far as the friend side. I have told my kids before, I'm not your friend, I'm your parent. I get that. But it's, do you have things in common with them? Do you have good times with them as if you were friends with them? Even in the parent title, you can still have that. Of course you love them, but are you creating moments to where you can like each other? Or is it just all business of being a parent? Gen Z, same thing to you. Do not bring your parents to wrath. Why are you trying to get on their nerves? Why are you trying to force their hand? Why are you trying to challenge them in such a way, to that example that I gave earlier with the son being evicted multiple times, or at least the one time? Why would you challenge and disrespect your parents in such a way and challenge the fact of, I don't think you're going to kick me out of your house because I'm your kid, and parents can't do that? Why would you do that? Unless there's some issues going on with you. And so Gen Z kids, treat your parents well. Parents and kids combined. If you are, as you're enemy-proofing your life, find ways to not be each other's enemy. I'm rooting for you, Gen Z. Gen Z, don't become bad neighbors or enemies to your parents. Parents of Gen Z, don't become bad neighbors or enemies to your parents. I don't know if I'm going to keep this in the segment. Maybe not. But there was a point, and I have spoken in a previous episode about my mom passing away. During an argument, it was me, my wife, my mom, my stepdad, and my uncle, Uncle Frank, good old Uncle Frank. We were having a family meeting, and we were having a disagreement about something. And I once told her this hard truth, and even with her passing away, I still think about it. I don't regret saying it, but it was very hard to say. And it was based on, my wife had asked my mom a specific question. Latasha asked my mom, do you know that you're hurting Josh? And you keep hurting him in this same way. And my mom looked at Latasha in a different kind of way. And my mom is very peaceful, so she's She's not arguing, or she's not yelling and cussing me out, or she's not using abusive language, not verbally abusive at all, emotionally abusive, nothing like that. However, when Tosh asked that question, she was asking from her expertise as far as being a therapist. And even as being my wife, being concerned for me, and being a good daughter-in-law to my mom, she asked her, do you care that you're hurting your son in this particular type of way? And my mom's response, she didn't respond. She just continued to look at my wife like, almost like, why would you ask that? Or how do you know to ask that? Or why are you bringing therapy into this? Just the whole thing. And something clicked in my head as far as how many times I've been hurt by my mom in that particular situation. And it wasn't anything that was so terrible, but it was just not good. And it was the same thing over and over and over again. So I looked at my mom and I told her, and I actually did this. This was an enemy proofing maneuver, a position that I didn't even realize. But I actually told her that if you weren't my mom, we wouldn't be friends. Can you imagine saying that to your parents? And I know people say much worse things. I'm actually there on scene as a cop when they do it, cussing their parents out, all types of disrespect, all that stuff. But I've never said anything like that. I've never said I hated my mom. I never said I wished I was, I wish I had different parents. I wish I wasn't born. Never say anything like that. I love life. I love my mom. I love a lot of things about being in this world and our relationship as a mother and son. And so when I told her this, I said, if you weren't my mother, we wouldn't be friends. Now, breaking that down now, that actually means that I was putting her in one of those 6 positions. That if you weren't my mother, we wouldn't be close family. And at that point, we weren't close family. If you weren't my mother, we wouldn't be close friends. At that point, we weren't close friends. And that's what I was expressing. We wouldn't be friends. So where did that put my mom? Well, she's not my enemy. She's never been my enemy. Although, there's things that she selfishly did that affected me, but I don't think she was intentionally trying to sabotage or ruin me in any way. So never my enemy, never a bad neighbor, but there was some borderline moments. There was some bad neighbor behaviors. And she wasn't a good neighbor at that point in life. And that's what I was expressing. And I'll take that back. That's what I was expressing. I was expressing that my mom at that point, in that moment, and it was a totality of all of our experiences for the past 5 years. At that point, the statement was true. If you weren't my mother, you wouldn't be my friend. And she wasn't. She was a neighbor. Not a good neighbor, not a bad neighbor, a neighbor. And that's okay. It's okay for various people that you love. And I still loved her and she still loved me. But at that point in our lives, my mom was a neighbor. You have to do it. You have to do this. No matter how much it hurts, it's not you doing it just because you're enemy-proofing your life. It's not you enemy-proofing your life. It's them doing it. Their actions are evidence and indictments of the status of their character during that season of their lives. Their actions are the answer to question number 8 in the enemy-proofing filter assessment. Question number 8 was, do their actions show that they feel the same way about you? Do they love you the same way that you love them? Do they care for you the same way that you care for them? And if the answer to that is no, and you love them and care for them in those positions of close family, close friends, good neighbor, if they don't love you the same way, then the best they can have is neighbor at that time frame. And it's still peaceful for a neighbor. You can still show love to your neighbor. But it sucks. It's tough. I get it. I commend you for being on this journey to fulfillment. I commend you for listening and taking the various steps and applying it to your life. Many more people will do this, but you were a part of the originals, a part of the beginning of these teachings. I commend you for digging deep. Let's keep going. It took me and Latasha 20 years to learn and apply this life lesson. The reason why it took 20 years is because we often suffered from the 6 traps of title loyalty. Title loyalty. Oh, family first. Well, thank you, Vin Diesel, for all 11 Fast and Furious movies with the theme, family first. Never mess with man's family. You know, one thing I hold close is family. You know why I'm speeding with my car? Family. You know why I'm breaking the laws locally, nationally, federally, internationally? For family. There's some flaws in Vin Diesel's Fast and Furious do it for the family first thing. And the movie may, people, fans of the movie may fall victim to title loyalty. 6 traps of title loyalty. Family first is trap number 1. Don't fall for it. Title trap number 2, fake love from fun people. Othello, fake love. And I can't remember what's the antagonist's name in Othello? Somebody please put it in the comments, let me know. Refresh my memory. Even Jesus was tempted from a biblical standpoint. 40 days, 40 nights in the desert, being tempted. The fake love from fun people, that's temptation. That's continuing to or wanting to keep the good times rolling. Like, oh, it's just not a party without this one person that brings all the fun, but is a terrible friend. Brings all the fun, but is a terrible family member. Brings all the fun, but is a horrible neighbor. But they're funny though. We have the best times. We have the best jokes. But their life is in shambles. They're not a good friend to you, and they're holding you back. Think about all the people that have held you back from being who you're supposed to be, taking the opportunities you're supposed to take, being focused on them because you have history with them, because you have fun with them. There's no fun in a life that doesn't have peace. I would choose peace over fun. But I get it. When you're young, you typically choose fun. Number 3, the third title loyalty trap is proof of disloyalty. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in a relationship and the person's cheating on you by way of gossip and rumors. You don't have proof. Their behavior is strange, but you don't have proof. You want to prove that they are disloyal first before you break up with them. You've accused them of cheating on you. You've accused them of having terrible behavior. Deny, deny, deny. They just keep denying it and asking you to prove it. They will erase messages in their phone, or they'll let you check their phone. They'll let you do all these things, and you just can't find proof. This is a trap. You are going through all types of stress. You're going through all types of frustration and anger. You're not having peace. You're being distracted. You are fumbling the bag, meaning you're not making money at this time. You are not taking all the opportunities to be productive in your life. You are having moments of unfulfillment and you don't even know it. This is the moment when you have to think to yourself, proof of disloyalty. How to get out of this trap is the burden of proof is on the accused to defend their innocence and remove all doubt. I told Tosh this when we first committed, when we first started dating, and as we were leading to marriage, and as we built our family. I told her that it is up to me or anyone that, if there's any doubt, if my fidelity to you is in question, if you think I'm being unfaithful in any way, it's up to me to prove to you that I'm not. And I can say that you're paranoid, and I can say that you're being crazy, you're acting irrational, or I can just give you the passwords to my phone, my social media, my email. I can give you 100% access because I give 100% access of me, and I want to keep 100% trust that they have in me. I give that access, vulnerability access. That's what it is. I give that to the people that I love on my love priority list, on my life priority list, in my enemy proofing group, that number one position of close family, close friends. If I'm saying that I'm committed to you, to my wife, she gets all access to me. And I understand there are many people that believe in prenups, and they believe in not giving full access of anything, and separate bank accounts, and you're not going to have my social security number. You're not about to steal my tax refund, my tax refund or tax return money. Okay, I got it. But that's a terrible way to live because it's not 100% peaceful. It's very hard to have in that area, in that marital aspect of your life, it is very hard to have complete fulfillment and ultimate moments of fulfillment when there's lack of trust, when there's lack of access, lack of vulnerability. Don't fall for that trap. That's how you get out of the trap. Proof of disloyalty. The burden of proof is on the accused to defend their innocence and remove all doubt. Otherwise, reposition them, put it in a lower position, and continue to grow and move on. Number 4, best friends forever trap. That kind of falls in the same category of the fake love, fun friend kind of thing. Best friends forever. It's a huge thing. This falls into the category of someone who is just relying on their history. And this is the moment, I was going to do this one clip from this one movie. I was going to put it in here, but it was basically saying this couple, they were about to break up, and the woman said, I don't even know why I'm here. And the guy's like, oh, after all this time, you have the nerve to say that after all these years, you don't know why you're here. And her response was, all we have is all these years. Ugh. All we have is all these years. If that's all you have, best friends forever, only based on a historic standpoint, nothing current, no future projections. Remember I told you a businessman, a good business person, a good business owner, they know when to invest in things. They know when to divest from things. They know what the current value of something is, and they research and learn what the projected value is. The projected value of a friendship that's only based on being best friends forever, or the only merit to it is that you've been friends for so long, is an empty friendship. It's you should divest from it. There is no forever position with the exception of your faith. That is the forever position. Unless you change your faith or change your transcendent source. But even forever, even from the standpoint of marriage with the spouse side of things, that can change depending on the people. And we don't live forever. So there's no forever position. All right. Number 5. Number 5, the narcissist. I know the word narcissist is being thrown around a whole lot. It's being spammed. Very similar to when the word bully was spammed. Narcissist is being spammed. Toxic relationships is a word that's being spammed. Being triggered, gaslit. All these words are being spammed, but do people really know what the true meaning of it is? So from the narcissist, a narcissistic person or a person that has narcissistic traits, they can be very charming. They can be very confusing on where to put them, what position to put them in. Maybe they were a close family. Maybe they were a close friend. Maybe they were a good neighbor. But as time goes on, even though you can't really put your finger on what they're doing or they're not really trying to sabotage you, but somehow you end up being stressed about them. And they always have a way of kind of getting out of it, of saying it's not really their fault, turning it around to where now they're the victim and you're the offender. You are getting D.A.R.V.O'd. And I will actually put this in the link of the description. There's a therapist that goes in detail talking about D.A.R.V.O. And that means when you bring up a hurtful thing, and in fact, this is what my mom was doing to me in that particular example. But when you bring up, hey, to a person, hey, you're hurting me, you are offending me, you are frustrating me, you are making me angry. D.A.R.V.O is an acronym. That particular narcissistic person or person that's exhibiting narcissistic traits or behaviors, that person will go on the defense. They will say, no, I'm not. I'm not even doing anything to you. You got it all wrong. You're tripping. You always trip. You're always messing up. You're always paranoid, all those different things. Then they'll go on the defensive and they'll be like, oh, I can't believe you would say that. It really hurts. And I don't like the way you said that to me. I don't like your tone. You could have said it differently. Then they'll go on the attack and they'll start accusing you of how you are, how you should have approached this. And you did that. You brought it up in the wrong way at the wrong time to the wrong person because that's not who they are. Then they'll reverse it. They'll reverse the role and they'll become the victim. When you do this to me, it hurts me. And I get what you were trying to say and everything, but you're actually hurting me and you've always done this. And this is just, I don't know. I just need some space. How do they need some space based off of what you brought up to them? You're the one trying to determine if you need to set space or set the boundaries or determine what position they need to be in. This is why you need to enemy-proof your life for the D.A.R.V.O side. So they'll reverse the roles. Now they're the victim. And now you're the offender. And you're the one that, even though you brought the issue because you were offended, now you take the issue home with you, plus some other issues on how you are offending them. And somehow you end up apologizing to them, only to stay tuned for the next episode of them doing it to you again. You just got D.A.R.V.O'd. I'll put that in the description. And last, enemy designation. Yes, we are even enemy-proofing your enemies, as we've talked about throughout this time frame. When you think about it, your enemies might not be your enemies. Proper designation will free you from paranoia. So, in the past, this is full circle. In the past, You would only have friends, family, and enemies, family, friends, and ops. And you would just put everybody you had, everybody that wasn't a close family member or a close friend, you would just throw them in the enemy category. And you would be paranoid about anybody else who would make mistakes. And you would be quick to throw everybody in the enemy category. That's the wrong designation for them. That's the wrong position for them. This is why the neighbor piece is so critical. This is why you have close family, close friends, good neighbors, regular neighbors and strangers, bad neighbors and enemies. Do not fall for title loyalty traps. Those are the ways to escape from title loyalty traps or to prevent getting caught. And now we come to how to immediately apply enemy proofing methods in your life. When bad neighbors and enemies are your coworkers, work subordinates, a estranged spouse, co-parent, significant other, parents, kids, former close friends, or former close family members, apply the things right away. You want to apply what you've learned right away. So you've put various people in the enemy proofing group. You took the assessment. You've determined what their position 1 through 6 is in the enemy proofing group. And now you want to apply boundaries on them. You want to apply your enemy proofing right away. 1, don't tell them, but if you do, take away the hostility from it. This is a self-care move. This whole episode is about self-care. You can do your self-care peacefully without creating enemies of your own. I understand that you may want to be hostile because of all the trauma and all the frustration, all the annoyance, all the lies, all the dishonesty, betrayal. You want to get a form of revenge by telling them that you're not messing with them anymore. This can prove to be a disruption to your peace. Number 2, inform your close family and friends about their status with you, and don't gossip about them. So let your family and friends know, close family and close friends. Hey, I've been struggling with so-and-so. I've been struggling with this particular guy, and I'm no longer dealing with him for these various reasons. This is the category that he's in. I know he's on all your socials. You do what you want, but I'm not messing with him. If he goes to particular events, I probably won't be there, but we'll see how it goes. I'll probably spend time with you later. Now, it's very difficult to do this from a work standpoint. So even from the work standpoint side, inform close people at work what's going on with you. At the very least, if you're not going to inform anyone, inform your supervisor. Hey, having some issues with this particular person. We're not necessarily seeing eye to eye. I'm not going to go into the details of everything, but just know that I'm going to remain professional, but please don't pair us up if you can help it. If you do, we'll get the work done. It'll be fine. Which brings me to 3. Now, also with 2, no gossiping. Express how you feel to your close family and friends. Let them know where you're at, but don't gossip about them. Because based on the gossip, it could actually make them biased towards that person. And sometimes your friends, you have some very aggressive friends or zealot friends or ride or die friends that will try to fight the battle for you, that will get mad at them or be offended with them by way of you. They're trying to do it from a vicarious standpoint. They're trying to do some vicarious revenge. Don't let them do it. Number 3, remain strictly professional when you deal with these people. And this just isn't, it's not just in a business setting. You're applying it to once you turn someone into a bad neighbor or enemy, stay professional in the sense of no levity, only brevity and clarity. Meaning there's no more jokes. There's no more lightheartedness. You don't have to roll your eyes at them, but you also don't have to laugh or placate or anything. You become very concise and clear with the language that you speak with them. Um, any 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 issues that arise, you want to have clarity on your intentions, your expectations. Keep it very job interview professional for the rest of time. And that will bring you peace. It's hard to do at first until you gain a certain type of endurance for it. And then it becomes easier and there's so much peace. And then when other people are going through similar issues that you've had with that person and other people are getting offended, you're going to want to gossip. You're going to want to jump right in there, but don't do it. Just you can share this episode with them. You can refer them to me for one-on-one consultation, or to my wife, to Latasha. But you protect your peace by not jumping into gossip and slander and mudslinging and being messy. Number 4, apply all courtesies and customs. You're still greeting people. You can still greet a bad neighbor and an enemy. Now, it could be a short greeting. You don't have to shake their hand. It can be a wave. It can be a smile. It can be a, hey, Tom. Or it could be a, hey, Karen. Or it could, hey, Jimmy. You don't have to say things that you don't mean. If it's not good to see them, don't say, hey, good to see you. Don't say anything outside of courteous things, greetings, hello, goodbye. What did you need? Are we assigned on this? Here's this, here's that. Even from the standpoint of family, courtesy, still greet them, but you don't have to engage or indulge in their life any longer. You're free. Number 5, document everything, paper trail everything. This is in a work setting. And then this is also when you're from the personal standpoint as well. Document everything, your communication with them through text, through messages. If they're reaching out to you for whatever reason and you don't necessarily want to hear them voice to voice, or there's some certain types of details, put those details in a text message. I don't generally condone text messaging with important conversations. Usually it's just for logistics. But now we're at the point that they're in that type of space. Would your neighbor get voice to voice, face to face access with you anytime they wanted? No. Especially if they were a bad neighbor. It would just be a text message, or it'd be a quick conversation, but nothing in detail. Document everything, paper trail everything. If you are in a parenting, co-parenting relationship, and it's fundamentally bad, and there's baggage and emotion, and you find out that you have to put the person you're co-parenting with, or your significant other, you have to put them in that bad neighbor enemy category, then you may have to put things on paper for if you need to do a civil harassment order, if you need to do a restraining order, whatever the case is. Number 6, when dealing with and applying enemy proofing to bad neighbors and enemies, witnesses. Allow there to be witnesses when available. It's okay. It's the very same thing as paper trailing everything, documenting everything. Include witnesses in it. Number 7, be meticulous and intentional with every word and action. Avoid being petty. Avoid subtext. Avoid trolling. Avoid trying to instigate something just to prove a point. Let it go. Just let it go. I know in story time, I didn't let it go. I know I threw their garbage all over the place. I get it. But I learned a valuable lesson. I almost lost a lot of money. That would have been bad. Number 8, no gossiping about them ever. We already talked about this. At most, minimal venting to the 1 and 2 enemy proofing positions in your group. So close family, close friends, vent to them, but even let them know, because you trust them 100% and they trust you 100%, they're not going to spread, they're not going to gossip about what you vented to them. 9, be prepared to get restraining orders, civil harassment orders, child custody orders as needed. This is how you apply this right away. This is how you enemy proof things. Do not continue to go in this circle of trauma, of going back and forth with a person and letting it get more and more toxic, more and more traumatic, because eventually someone goes to jail, or eventually somebody gets in a physical fight. Eventually somebody dies, all because you didn't do the proper amount of enemy proofing in your life. Okay, all of this was so heavy. It was so heavy. Here is the timeout segment. It's the final segment of this episode. All right, everybody gather around. We're in a huddle here. And this is where somebody says, Coach John Joshua, what's the play? First off, I'm not a life coach. Stop calling me coach. This is a free consultation. And you can pay me with this. Subscribe to the channel. Like, share, comment, hit the bell for notifications. Okay. Huddle up. Here is the winning play. Fiercely and swiftly apply the enemy proofing methods to bad neighbors and enemies. Redistribute all your time, energy, and money to the people who truly love and cherish you, to the people who show that they want to see you win. Declare to them how you purged all the toxic people out of your life and how you set fierce boundaries on them. Tell them how hard it was and how much it hurt to do it, just so they can hold you accountable and participate in the security of your boundaries. Those close family and close friends are the same people you should apologize to for not listening to them when they tried to warn you, and make amends with the people that canceled you out of their lives when you were a bad neighbor or enemy to them. Get back to cherishing good friends and good family members. Upon doing this, more fulfillment will surely come. It's just my 2 cents, but it could be worth a humble billion. Sincerely, John Joshua. 2 first names, no middle. The next No Advice Needed episode will be released on June 13th.